Hi, I just thought I would take a video to talk about how India was because it was amazing, and I know a lot of you donated and just prayed a lot of prayers for me and my team. I also know that this is going to be really low quality because I'm taking it on my old laptop because I have a 5S iPhone, and so it's actually probably going to be better than what that could do anyway. So here we go. I'm just going to talk about the trip and we did in the organization, just like some random stuff. So I went to India for a month, if you didn't know. We flew into Hyderabad, and then we were doing summer camps for orphans. So we had one camp in Khammam, two camps in Ungal, which is like close to the coast, and that's where the people that we like partnered with actually own the location. And then we had one camp in Kadapa. So let's see, just some stuff about India to begin with before we get into like the actual stuff I did on the trip. The driving is crazy. They drive on the left side of the road, not the right side, so that was already like weird for me. But then you honk to let people know that you're there, not like that they're doing something wrong. So it's constant honking. There may be like two lanes set up, but there's four lanes of cars happening. And then there's just animals in the road, like goats and water buffalo and cows and whatever you can think of. And it's just monkeys in random places. Um, the heat was insane. We had to dress very, very modestly, obviously, because it's India. And just so like wearing like a t-shirt and then a scarf and then a full-length skirt with leggings under that skirt. It was it was already really hot. Like the heat index was in the 120s, and especially when we were in the towns that weren't like coastal, like Ungal, it was extremely hot. And speaking of hot, let's talk about the food. We ate a lot of curry. Um, I usually can't handle spice like at all. Like one time I ate a pineapple off of a pizza, and that pineapple had been baked next to a jalapeno, and I almost cried. So I'm kind of, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. We ate a lot of curry, and I survived, which was great. A lot of curry and rice, and then something I actually loved was the buttered naan. It's so good. I could probably still eat that every day. And then you eat, like, usually not with utensils, like, you eat with your right hand. So that was different. And then the portions were enormous. There was, like, one time where I finally got to portion my own food, and I just did, like, a little scoop of rice. And then somebody came by, and they're like, no, sister, eat more. And he, like, scooped this huge scoop of rice out of my plate. And I'm like, no, I finally got to choose, but it's fine. The area we were in, the language they spoke is Telugu. Some of the kids knew English, our contacts knew English really well. Um, and then like there was a lot of just like adjusting to like, okay, what English do you know? Like what specific words do you know? So something is good, they say it's super. If they need tape, they call it plaster. So you just kind of have to learn like, okay, what English word do you know for what? Um, okay, so the trip. Um, we were with Covenant Children's Home or CCH, and our contacts were honestly so amazing. Sandia was like the she's like the camp director and she's like a boss. She's so cool. And then there was just like all these amazing people, VJ and Pastor Johnson and Jacob, and just wonderful, wonderful people that we got to build relationships with and become family with. And it was so sad leaving them. I want to go back and see them like every day. It would be so cool. So what CCH does, they provide homes for orphans, and these homes have like 5 to 10 kids in them, and they're built in like villages. So they're actually usually like the nicest place in the village, which is really cool because it's made out of like cement and stuff. So it's actually like a nice place to live. The bottom floor is like the kitchen and the living room and where everybody lives. Bedroom, bathroom can be inside or outside. It kind of depended on the house. And then you walk upstairs and it's an open air church and it's really cool and beautiful. And they have church there on Sundays. Um, So the home has a mom and a dad, and it's actually the pastor and pastor's wife of the church. So I thought that was really cool because it's like, yes, these kids are kind of like they're orphans or they come from like bad homes and they've been taken, out of that, which is good. But they really like they have a home. Sorry, I keep looking down because my journal's down here. Um, these kids, they have a home. They have a family. Um, it's either like girls or guys, these sisters or these brothers that they're living with. Like they become their family. So I think that's really beautiful, and they're actually like, being really taken care of so well. Um, okay, so we had camps. We did 4 summer camps. It was really fun. Our theme was stand firm, and then our verse was James 1:12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those that love him. So that was really cool. Thought that was a beautiful verse. We did tons of what they called action songs. So like the song like Every Move I Make. We did it so many times and the kids loved it. So it was great. There was a theme song called Stand Firm that they had found on YouTube. So we did that. We were asked if we could do it like 5 minutes before we were supposed to go up. So we're all like watching this video, like, okay, what are the words? What are the dance moves? Okay, let's do this thing. We're all just looking at each other as we're doing it the first time. Like, is everybody doing the same thing? Do we even remember this? But, we got it after a couple times. Um, we did workshops in groups. So we'd break up into teams and then we'd have a team name. Usually it was a Bible character. And then personally, my workshop groups that I did were coloring, and then I did face painting for a lot of them. And then one time I was with Nikki on my team, and we made these crowns, and then like we would tape them, around their head. It was super cute, and they'd get a color on them, and they were the crown of life because of our verse. And one time we ran out of crowns, and we had paper bags, and we made puppets, and I thought they were the most terrifying things I've ever seen because we just get there and we're like, oh my gosh, we don't have any crowns. And I was like, okay, we're doing puppets. And like I had no idea what I was doing. And I made this puppet and it was horrifying and the kids loved it. So they started making them too. Um, and then after like we would do workshops, we would like come back and worship usually a little bit, go to lunch, we'd have rest time. Whenever we were not in Ungol for the camp, we were in like a room with, it was just, oh my gosh, it was so hot, so much hotter than outside. We called it the boiler room. But whenever we were in Ungol, we actually had a room with AC, and it was so nice. Like, it was so great. Um, and then after nap time, after rest time, we would do these games as like 4 teams. So there'd be like, each team is like a color. And then we would compete, and then we'd like count up the points, and at the end of the camp we'd have an award ceremony. So that was really fun. We had like flags and stuff, and it was so cool because you'd get to meet more girls than were just in your group, and then I get to meet some of the guys, and they were all just so precious. Okay, and then after that we'd have free time, and free time was my absolute favorite because that's just when you could like play a sport with the kid, or you could just like like they had these little disc things that you could throw. It's kind of like frisbee, but it's like weighted foam discs. I don't know. I loved it. So even if you couldn't really communicate with the kids as much as you wanted, you could still play with them, and you could like try to communicate. There was these girls I talked to for like 30 minutes, and I don't think they knew any English, and I didn't know like any Telugu. I hardly knew any. Yet like somehow we're saying things and we don't know what each other are saying, but we understand. I don't really know how to explain it. Like I couldn't tell you exactly what they were saying, and they couldn't tell you what I was saying, but like somehow we kind of just like maybe like understood like each other's tones and stuff, and we were able to figure it out. And then a lot of just like hand motions for things. Speaking of hand motions, something that really confused me to begin with. Okay, going like this, it's like looks like a thumbs up for us. but it actually means like if you kind of have it close to your face, like I'm thirsty, I need water. Can I go get water? And I was just like, why do they keep doing thumbs ups? And I'm like, yes. And they'd like run up and run away. I was like, oh, okay, water. So I finally got that. Um, okay, after free time, we would wash up and then we would have service where we would do a skit, a life lesson, and a testimony. The skits were so fun. I actually got to write the skit for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That was super fun. Um, Life lesson, I did that after a Gideon skit. Um, and then I got to give my testimony one time, and the lights actually went out in the middle of it, like in kind of all the area. Um, like even like outside of the camp, the lights all went out. And like, I don't think I had a microphone. I know sometimes there were two, but the translator did. So like all these kids start screaming, all the adults get out their phones and like shine a light. And then like I kind of step instead of like by the stage, go in the middle of the kids and we finish it. So it was pretty cool. And they just made it work. So I thought that was like cool that they just were able to work with it. Um, okay. And then the last day of each camp, there was an award ceremony. And I thought that was so cool because the kids are getting these medals and they get to take them home and keep them. Um, like we participate in some of the games sometimes. So one time I got a medal and oh my gosh, I just thought this was like, there's this girl and she was just so precious. She was so sweet. She kind of had a little bit of attitude, but like I got a medal and I didn't have anything to do with it because like what am I gonna do with a little medal? Like the kids would love this way more than me. So I walk up to her after the award ceremony, and like I had this like gold medal, and I like put it around her neck. I'm like, this is a gold medal for being a great friend, and she just like smiled so big. It was so precious, and it was like the smallest little thing. Like it was just a medal, but I don't know. I just loved seeing her smile. Um, okay, and then sometimes there was a talent show, and that was amazing. um, Kids did these dances, and like there was this like Indian pop song, but it was like a Christian song, and these boys did this dance to it, and I was like, what is going on? Like, oh, some of it was a little interesting. And then there were traditional dances. There was this one little girl that I absolutely loved so much. She was so precious. And she did this dance like on stage on her own. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she was so small and like it was the cutest thing ever. There was a talent show where we actually, like my team had to do dances. The girls did a dance and the guys did a dance, and we all stayed up super late the night before trying to learn it and everything, and we totally butchered them. But we were wearing our traditional like Indian clothes. The girls had our saris on. We had like a little party, and the kids were cheering, but like it was a traditional dance. Like they would have known that we were absolutely butchering it, but it was a good time. That video will hopefully be forever lost. Okay, so there was a day where we actually got to do something else I really enjoyed. We got to paint like the inside of a house, like murals. So in a bedroom, we based it off of Psalm 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands. And then my friend Sierra and I did like constellations, and we had like a thing like kind of banner going through like dark blue, and then we had the constellations on it and stars, and I got to do a shooting star, which was really important to me because there's something else that had happened that week. um, I thought that was so cool. And then like Taylor worked on doing the verse. I just realized I'm shaking my laptop a lot. Okay. And then in the living room we did the verse Psalm 1:3. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. So we did a stream kind of going through like along the bottom, and we did two trees, a mango tree and an apple tree. Fun fact, mango in Telugu is Mamirikaya, and that's one of the only words I know. um, and then like I thought that was so cool because trees were also like really important to me. I know that sounds dumb, but it was like something else that happened that I'll talk about in a bit, so it'll make sense, I promise. Um, Oh yeah, and then we got to go to some church services at the CCH homes, which was cool. It was a lot different than like the church I'm used to, obviously. Way different, like open air and very small. It was really cool though. But just like not understanding a word anybody was saying or a word of like the worship, it's kind of hard to like focus. But I just tried to like use that time to pray and just do what I could. Um, People on my team would give like testimonies and would preach a message. I never spoke at church, but my team did a really good job. So it was actually cool when they did it because I could understand the English of that, and then there'd be a translator doing the Telugu part of that. Something that I thought was so cool. Sierra gave a testimony about, she thought that she was supposed to give something about Destiny, and Destiny was actually going to be like the name of her sister, but um, her mom like had like a miscarriage, and Sierra just talked about like the effect of that on her and her family and just getting through that and God's healing and stuff. And there was a girl that came up to Sierra after service who had just had a miscarriage, and she was just feeling like the feeling of loss, and it was just like, wow, like Sierra gave the perfect like testimony for that girl, exactly what that girl needed, because she listened to the Holy Spirit and did what God said, and that was really cool. After service one day we had prayer. So like and that was like part of that, like we prayed with the woman who lost her baby. And then we got to pray with the little boy. We got to pray with a woman whose like right side of her body wasn't working well, and they weren't healed right then. And I'm not like discouraged by that at all, because when I was praying, like I could just feel the Holy Spirit so strong, and I mean, like when you feel the Holy Spirit like that, His healing power is there. I think that those two people are being healed. I don't know when it's going to happen, but God obviously sees them. God recognizes them. God is there for them. And, hopefully these people get prayed for at church, get prayed for by people they love, and are healed, because you don't need some Americans to come in town for God to work a miracle. The woman whose right side of her body wasn't working well, me and Taylor on my team, like, saw, like, visions of her, like, moving freely and dancing, and just, like, and, like, I felt like God was saying that she would move freely, and so we got to tell her that, and I know it's going to happen. Oh, yeah, and then there's another time we got to pray for a woman. We took, like, a shortcut to get from one town to another town, and our contact VJ was like, oh, can we stop in this town? Like, I remember I came here a long time ago. I have family here. And he hadn't been there in like many, many, many years. And so he found his family, and like living with someone in his family was this woman who had polio. So this lady, because of like polio, her husband left her. And so like now she was just like kind of alone and sick, and we got to pray for her. And I had that same feeling with the Holy Spirit when I was like, okay, maybe she didn't get healed right now. Maybe she didn't get healed with me here, but I still believe 100% that her healing is here, and it's coming, and like it's coming soon. Just I don't know, I may not get to see it, and that's fine. Like I don't need to see the healing. I know that God is moving and working. Okay, so free time. We didn't, just do ministry 24/7. Like we had to rest. We had to have some free time. We played a ton of volleyball. Our contacts loved volleyball. Our team loved volleyball. We actually like one time did like a thing like, okay, whoever wins has to buy the other team ice cream. So our contacts ended up buying us ice cream, which was awesome because I love ice cream. And then one of our contacts named Chinna. So he had this serve that like he would serve up, and it would basically like touch the sun and come back down on the other side of the net, just like, and it's like coming at you so hard because it's coming from so high, and it was very intimidating, but it was like also the funniest thing. So that was entertaining. On one of our free days, we watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2 on someone's phone because they like downloaded it from Netflix, and we were quoting it the entire rest of the trip because everybody on my team loves that movie. That's one of my favorites. And we just, like, it wouldn't even make sense and we'd quote it. So it's fine. There was a day, well, there's somebody on our team named Joe. Joe's awesome. Joe is the most quotable person on our team. It was wonderful. He says many crazy, silly things. And he kept begging our leaders for Pizza Hut. He's like, come on, T, for like Taylor, let's go get Pizza Hut. And Taylor's like, no, we're not getting Pizza Hut. So one day, like, they don't tell us we're going. And surprise, surprise, we end up at Pizza Hut. And then we ended up getting to go to this, like, really tiny arcade. And when I say tiny, I mean, like, it was the tiniest thing I've ever seen. And then after that, we got ice cream. Oh, and at Pizza Hut, our contacts tried pizza for the first time ever, which was crazy. So I thought that was cool to, like, share that moment with them. One of our days we went shopping, so we got, like, outfits and saris and jewelry. Thought that was really fun. And then there was a day where we got to go to the beach in Ungol. And at first our leaders were like, no, we can't get in. They were like, okay, you can touch your ankles in. And then we were like in like up to our knees and the waves would come and just get us soaked. And I may have tripped and fallen into the ocean because my skirt is so long. Because you're like, going in wearing like your full clothes and everything. We got to tour, I think it was like a palace type thing in Hyderabad. It was really cool. It was really pretty. And then there was, if you live in Tulsa, you'll get this. It's like Hyderabad's version of Mayfest, where there's like a bunch of different booths with like art and like these vendors and stuff. But you get a barter, but then there's also a stage where there's dances and stuff. It was really cool. We actually got to go to that twice. And I loved doing like the bartering and getting to like do that for other people and stuff. We got to go to grocery stores sometimes, so we got some like candy and stuff that we wouldn't get in America. And then on our very last night, they got us Domino's, and we ate Domino's in the hotel, and that was really okay. Well, it was good because I'd had curry so much, but it was nothing compared to like the actual Domino's that we have in America. It was definitely a lot different, but it was still good. Okay, so some favorite memories. Wow, this video is really long. Hopefully you're entertained and you're, enjoying yourself. So some just favorite memories, like some fun stuff and then some serious stuff thrown in there too. Band names. So we had a thing where we just started coming up with band names because we're like, okay, any noun with like an adjective that kind of goes with it but doesn't really go with it, that makes a good band name, right? So then Joe is trying to come up with these band names, and he sits there like for 5 minutes not saying anything, just thinking of band names. And what comes out of his mouth finally is New Bacon. I'm like, New Bacon? So here's some other band names he came up with. Pregnant Eskimo, Soggy Flip Flops, Cool Sponges, and Buttered Foot. So we were just making fun of Joe and his band names, and anytime we'd say something, they'd be like, oh, that's a good band name. That was fun. There was a lot of British accents happening, and we were very bad at British accents too. Just Joe's quotes in general were a huge part of the trip because we were like all saying Joe's quotes. Oh man. He said he'd trade his hotel room for a whole case of water. So, because like, we couldn't like brush our teeth with the water in the sink. We would have to like pour water on it and just. One time Joe, he bought 6 rugs and they were, oh man, like they were cool rugs there, but he bought some ugly rugs. And we were like, Joe, why are you buying those rugs? They're ugly. And he's like, they're obviously from India. And I was like, oh my gosh. Joe. And he got them for so cheap too. He spent forever bartering and stuff. And I'm just like they were nice looking rugs. And those are the ones he chose. So it's fine. He got them for all like the households of like family members and stuff. Okay, so there's a little boy. I think he was like 3. His name is Joy. And it was Sandia, like the person who is the camp director. It was her son. And Joy just does whatever he wants. Like somebody would be in the middle of preaching a message and Joy just kind of like walks around, stands in front of everybody, just looks all over the place. And then he'll like just walk on stage and kind of like sit on stage with a phone, just doing his own thing. I'm like, what? Okay, and then something that was really cool that I said I was going to talk about later, and it's later now. Um, we had worship under the stars on the roof at the camp in Ungle, just like my team. It was the most, it was the most beautiful building. It was gorgeous. It was shaped like a cross, and like the top of the roof was just amazing. And all the stars and stuff when you look up, and like we all laid the ground and we listened to like So Will I, and we sang, and it was like a beautiful moment. But at one point, like I kind of like we kind of started separating and having our own time with God as the worship music played, and so people kept singing. And I went out and I looked like over the edge of the building, and there's just all these trees there, and like God like spoke something to me about those trees, and it was kind of like a metaphor type thing. And I was like, God, is this really from you? Because we questioned God, right? um, and I told him, send me a sign in the stars if this is from you. And I'm looking up and I'm like, maybe if there's a star that gets brighter, or, something. Like it could still be from God if he didn't send me a sign, but like I just, I wanted to see. I wanted to know. And like my team kind of gets called back over and we're about to pray, and I kind of like didn't have my mind on it. And then I'm kind of like I kind of like look up and I see a shooting star, and I am the only one on my team that saw that shooting star, and that was my sign from God that what he spoke like was something that he spoke. Like it was a conversation I had with him. And that's why whenever we painted those rooms, and one was like galaxy and one was the rivers of like life and the tree and everything, like that's like what God spoke to me about. He spoke to me about trees, and he used a star to tell me it was him, and I got to paint a shooting star. And the coolest thing about doing those paintings is that like we have altered those kids, like what those kids' memories are going to be in that house, because whenever they have conversations and whenever they remember things, whenever they're just thinking, like those paintings are going to be in the background of all their memories. And like I mean, I know it might not make a big difference, but like it really does like alter completely like all of their memories that they have in that house, because like that is in the background of them, like that's in it. So I don't know, I just thought that was really cool, and just the two themes being the two things that like God used to spoke to me. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so I just want to talk about like my purpose there, and then like lessons learned and stuff. I promise I don't have much left. I realize this video is really long. So I made it my purpose there to tell the young girls that I was getting to play with and talk with that they are beautiful princesses and they have a great purpose. Because I think it's so important, uh, for everybody to know they have a purpose. But like, I don't know, I just love telling people they're princesses. I think it's so cool because it's so true. Because that's how God sees them. Um, and then for me personally, I was like a little confused about my purpose on the trip, because beforehand, like we did this thing where we were all prophesying over each other, and there was these great prophecies, and then that moment like that I had with God on the roof where he told me something amazing, but like I felt really comfortable on my trip, and I was really confused because I was like, but I'm supposed to be doing something great, right? um, and then I realized like I thought that I only had purpose if I was doing something that I saw as like great in my own eyes, but I'm actually glorifying God in what I see as small things. So just learning that, and then like realizing I was comfortable because I was made for that trip. Like I had felt like I was supposed to go to India for a long time, like maybe since I was 12 or 13 or something. So like I knew I'd be in India at some point. Um, and then I've worked in like kids classrooms at church for 5 years. And then I've been a camp counselor. Like I was a camp counselor 2 summers. Whenever I'm in the kids classrooms, like I'll speak on stage and stuff. And then like I love writing, and I got to write this skit. And then I've always like loved acting and drama and stuff, and I did a little bit of that in high school. And then I got to do like that in the skits and stuff. And then like doing the painting and stuff. Like I've done art my whole life. Like literally everything we did on this trip was things that I've already been doing my entire life. Like I was made for this trip. And I was just thinking about like the other trips I could have been on, and it's like, no, like, no, thank you. And this one was just, it was perfect. Like it was exactly where I was supposed to be, and I was comfortable because like what we were doing, that's, that's who God created me to be. Um, and then there were just like other little like personal things that like God was just helping heal me by revealing truth to me, because, that's what he does. So all in all, the trip was great. It was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. My team was wonderful. I loved all the relationships I built with the little girls, and just getting to like pour into them and tell them they were princesses and that they have a purpose. It was great. It was wonderful. It was worth the heat. It was worth having to eat curry. I guess, yeah, we got to eat curry. I could say that. Yeah, it was all worth it. So I just want to thank everybody who helped me get there, everybody who believed in me, everybody who encouraged me to go when I was kind of terrified, because I was like, oh my gosh, a month in another country where I don't really get to contact the people that I usually contact like every day. So yeah, just thank you for everybody who donated money, because I know that like that is a huge sacrifice, because I couldn't have gone without other people's money. Like I couldn't, I couldn't do that on my own. And the fact that like everybody has like their little budgets and stuff that they stick to, and the fact that you were able to make that happen is amazing. Because I don't know if I would have been able to do that for somebody else. I hope that someday I can. And then everybody who prayed for me, because I know there's a lot of people who were praying for me as I was on my trip and before my trip, and like not everybody can contribute financially, and I think prayers do all the same. And let's see. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my journal to see if there's anything I missed. Oh yeah. Thank you for just like watching this, because if you watch this, that just means like, you're interested and you support me, and I find that amazing. So thank you so much to everybody who watched this too. Sorry that it was so long, but hopefully like, you got to hear stuff you wanted to hear, because whenever I try to talk to people about my trip in person, I feel like I say something for about 10 seconds, and then I'm like, what do I say now? So hopefully this helps like elaborate and stuff, and you know exactly what I did, and just that I loved it and it was all worth it. So thank you, and I love you.